Good afternoon, Ms. Young. I'm Dr. Merrick. It's nice to meet you. What brings you here today? Sounds like a good plan. Well, to get to know you better, I'll be asking you quite a few questions during this appointment. It's also important for you to know that I want you to interrupt or ask any questions that you have. If something doesn't make sense, we'll come at it a different way to make sure we're all on the same page. Do you already have some ideas about what you want to discuss today? When you say allergies, do you mean seasonal allergies or allergies to medicine? Okay, we'll make sure to discuss both of those topics. If it's okay with you, I'll start by asking you about your health and family history. I know that you filled out a form in the waiting room, and I have that here, but I would like to get to know more about you, then we'll talk about that as well. How has your health been in the past? And what does good mean to you? Did you have an illness when you were younger or during your childhood? Wow, that's a lot for a little kid. So when you were 7, that was about 14 years ago? And where did you have surgery? Did you stay overnight? Is that the only time you've been hospitalized for medical or surgical reasons? Do you have any allergies to medication? What happens if you take them? Did you go to the doctor? Did they give you antihistamines? Have you been involved in any serious accident? Tell me about your immediate family. Have your parents, grandparents, and brothers or sisters had cancer? Did she have chemo or surgeries? I'm glad to know she's doing better now. How about heart disease, heart attacks, etc.? Does or has anyone had diabetes or disorders of the thyroid, liver, lungs, or kidney disease? And now that your mom is in remission, would you say that her health is good? And what about the other members of your family? And how old is he? I'd like to know more about you, your background, education, work, and family. Who are the important people in your life? How do you feel about the way your life is going? Do you take any medications? At your age, it's always a good idea to make sure that you take a folic acid supplement or eat cereal that is fortified with folic acid. When you have a chance, just make sure the multivitamin includes folic acid. Do you know how to read those labels and figure out from the percentage of RDA it provides? Great, but let us know if you need any help with that. You can just call the office and ask to talk to the nurse. Let's talk about your seasonal allergies. How long has that been a problem? What kind of allergy symptoms do you experience? Did the Allegra work in the past? Would you like to take that again? Okay. Allegra is available over the counter, but I will write a prescription for you, which could save some money. So you had said you wanted to talk about birth control. First, though, I'm going to ask some questions about your sexual health and practices. Have you ever had intimate physical contact with anyone? Does that contact include sexual intercourse? Are your partners male, female, or both? Do you have a partner now? Let's talk about that. Why are you interested specifically in the birth control implant? Are there other types of birth control that you have tried in the past? You know that condoms are the most effective protection against sexually transmitted infections? The recommendation for situations like yours is to use both the condom and birth control. However, I can understand that it would be easier to use the birth control implant. Let me go over the process and also the things that can happen. If that is the method of birth control you select, you'll come back here and then we'll put an implant in the skin of your upper arm. It will last 3 years and you can take it out anytime. Just ask for an appointment. Always keep the STI prevention issue in the back of your mind because we wouldn't want things to change and you to be at risk for any of those. They can have some unpleasant outcomes. Are you pregnant now or think you might be? Then we can schedule you for a follow-up appointment where we put the implant in. Have you had any unexplained vaginal bleeding? And I'm also going to give you a pap smear later, especially with your family history of cancer. Hopefully the results will give you some peace of mind. Your blood pressure was fine today. Do you have a history of gallbladder, kidney stones, liver, or kidney disease? Do you have any history of depression? Tell me more about that. What medication did you take? Do you remember how much? I'm glad you remembered. Let's talk about how you're doing now. During the last 2 weeks, have you often felt nervous, anxious, or on edge? Would you say not at all, several days, more than half days, or nearly every day? Have you not been able to stop or control worrying? Not at all, several days, more than half the days, or nearly every day? How often have you had little interest in or pleasure in doing things? Not at all, several days, more than half the days, or nearly every day? Would you say that you are under a lot of stress? Would you say during the past month that you've been worrying a lot about your everyday problems? Do you ever feel like life isn't worth living or that you would hurt yourself or others? You may be experiencing some anxiety. Would you like me to give you a referral to a counselor or discuss what we might do about that? Good. Since domestic violence is so common, I began to ask about it routinely. At any time, has your partner hit, kicked, or otherwise hurt or frightened you? That's good. Just remember, if something like that ever happens, there is help available. You can call here and we'll tell you about resources. I'm sure you know that alcohol use can impact people's health. How often do you have a drink containing alcohol in the past year? Never, monthly or less, 2 to 4 times a month, 2 to 3 times per week, 4 or more times in a week. How many drinks containing alcohol did you have on a typical day when you were drinking in the past year? 1 or 2 drinks, 3 or 4, 5 or 6, 7 to 9, 10 or more. How often do you have 6 or more drinks on one occasion in the past year? Never, less than monthly, monthly, weekly, daily, or almost daily. Do you smoke cigarettes, e-cigarettes, or vape? Do you think that's a problem or bad for your health? Do you want to stop vaping? Okay. If you change in your mind in the future, Wisconsin Medicaid Badger Care covers medicines like nicotine lozenges, inhaler, and patches to help you quit. These are all free. They also have free counseling and a 24/7 assistance phone number. In the past year, how many times have you used marijuana? Never, once or twice, monthly, weekly, or more. Are you smoking or ingesting the weed another way? In the past year, how many times have you used prescription drugs that were not prescribed for you, such as pain medication or Adderall? Never, once or twice, monthly, weekly, or more. In the past year, how many times have you used illegal drugs? Never, once or twice, monthly, weekly, or more. I want to ask you just a few more questions to help you decide if your marijuana use is causing you problems. Have you ever felt you ought to cut down your marijuana use? Have people annoyed you by criticizing your drug use? Have you ever felt bad or guilty about your drug use? Tell me more about that. Okay. Have you ever used drugs first thing in the morning to steady your nerves? Some people think if you answer yes to 2 of those questions, your drug use is a problem. Others say that one yes answer is enough to be concerned. And you did answer yes to 1 question. Do you want some help with this? I'm glad to see you have a plan. We're ready to give you a pap smear. Why don't you go ahead and put on the gown after you remove your pants and underwear. I'll come back in with the nurse and we'll explain the procedure. If you think of any other questions, you can also ask them when I come back.